Hello, welcome to Being Reintegrated. This is Tim Wright. So I wanted to talk with you all real quickly and say thank you. What essentially happened is, I've been doing these Franz von Baader, Baader translations, and we've gotten to a really cool part where I have it myself. It's volume 3 of The Spirit of Things. It's a commentary by Baader on Saint-Martin. So what is in it? I actually read this stuff. So what is in it is he says in the commentary to the first text, which is on, I think it's on the Spirit of On the Spirit of Things book. It's titled Idea of the Plan of This Work, and it starts on page 1. So that's easy enough. I mean, it's not something to remember. Or he says, according to widespread doctrine, which is the doctrine of materialism, all properties are a being are the result of its organization, while to another, the organization is the result of its properties. So that was really, really cool. And then I happened to be on Facebook just listening to one of the, light, happiness, and love videos. And I heard something about affirmations. And what it said was that instead of looking at the chakras as all an I am experience, look at them as a subjective state that is calling out to your attention, essentially. And, I really was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then I saw that this is how the mind organizes subjective experience. So it started to get really, really intense. So I made a diagram, which you'll see up there. And it says, according to materialism, all properties are a being are a result of its organization. And then I put next to each one of the chakras what the subjective state was. So I am, I feel, I do, I love, I speak, I see, I understand, are all the major meta-categorizations of subjective experience. And I was like, that's good. And being a Buddhist kind of guy, Vajrayana guy, I fell into the beauty of what happens when you understand the nature of the mind and that it's clear in knowing. So I started to get into some Vajrayana distinctions, which is all of the subjective awareness is all categorization of that organization. The ego's job is to organize chaos. And so it experiences something from a perception, like I see a tree, and then all of a sudden it organizes that information into the thought body. So the thought body becomes organized. I always forget who I'm talking to. So you're Cohen, so I can talk to you a little bit clearer. So this etheric body gets organized, and it starts to shoot holes of reference in the etheric body. And it says whenever you feel, have this kind of energy vortex, which they call in Martinism a tourbillon, have that open up to more of the same. And so this is the way the mind is organizing the subtle body mechanics of the individual. And so it just so happened that I was reading Baader at the time when I saw this diagram in my mind's eye. It wasn't created, but this is what she said. And then I made the diagram to be a teaching tool for our work. So what happened is I got to learn through one of the neurodivergent little light and love fluff bunnies about a way to install Mahamudra of the Vajrayana Great Seal teachings onto myself. and it immediately worked. I immediately had calm and peace, and I was like, oh my God, there's nothing to organize. There's nothing to do. My will let up. So, this goes into a lot of what the koan is doing, the abnegation of the will, the self-effacing, all of this stuff is doing something. When you start reading Baader, and then what I'm translating is a commentary that someone did on Saint Martin. I don't want to say the names. Like, if you know, then go do the work. But if you don't know, then don't pretend you do, because this level of Martinism is coming out. It's a pre-Papuzian Martinism that's based on this level of insight into the Martinist current. It's amazing. The Ordre des Coans Ressuscités has it. We're working on publishing not only the volume, but the commentary, including new tables of pagination that will allow you to navigate the most recent and translated English texts with the original French commenting, and you'll be able to actually reference what's being said. Just like I was able to reference this in Baader in the Spirit of Things. It's amazing. So he talks about that what happens is that the circumference, what I assume would be the properties, create a center. And so he says that later, or earlier on, I think, that the center is built on the periphery, and the circumference periphery is based on the center. So they become codependent. It's a center with a circumference nowhere and a circumference with a center nowhere, because the moment a property opens itself up for perception, it creates a center of organization. So this is so profound that we're able to get into this level of nuance metaphysically with stuff that seems like it doesn't matter. But this is the whole key to undifferentiated, non-dual awareness that you get in the Vajrayana. And they use mental categorization, so there's still a level of framework that has to be abandoned. And we're lucky enough to have gotten from, like I said, the neurodivergent kiddos and the light workers. The neurodivergent said use affirmations based on chakras that are on these verbal categorizations. And I realized, being the student that I am, that this is the actual meaning of Cartesian, I think, therefore I am. He is saying that because he has res cogitans, the thinking, that his being has been established. So this is all related to each other. It's a little bit complicated, but it's challenging to fully take on. But that's kind of what we're looking at here with this level of commentary on Saint Martin, is that, the Baader material is absolutely remarkable. Now, I've translated a book plug. I've translated the volume 3, which is the commentary on the Spirit of Things, as well as the commentary on Saint Martin's Errors in Truth. Now, we're still working on some more publications. That's what I do. I make books. You know about it. Kim Publishing. Thanks for all your support. But this is what is powering our video series. It's not because I have some brilliant stuff I want to talk about. Like, we're reading Baader in German in English for the very first time in all history since the 1800s. And then we are able to use the work that's building on each other. Volume 1 and 2 of The Spirit of Things now has volume 3, which is the commentary. So we're able to see the German side of Illuminism, and this all goes into the koan. I mean, it may seem like it's abstract and all academic, but it's not. In the rite of the Elu koan, which we fully have now, at least in its bones and sinews, in the rite, they go through this material, like I told some of the people on the Reddit recently, the flesh clings to the bone is one of the sayings that you hear in the second degree of the Elu koan. Well, what this means is that the same thing Baader's saying, the center perpetuates a circumference. And if you recognize a circumference, it presupposes a center. And that an admirer, it has an object of admiration. All this stuff is saying the same thing. It's using a double teaching method of ontology and epistemology to get us into the understanding of how this creation of dualism happened and how the Cartesian dualism has come about. It's powerful, powerful stuff. Even at the point of referencing some of the German existentialism, because he says that you cannot misunderstand without first understanding. It's so powerful that you can't know something unless you misunderstand it. And if you're misunderstanding it, relax. You actually know what you're talking about. But if you think you know what you're talking about, you don't understand what you're talking about because you haven't misunderstood it as the sign is to the mind. This is the whole errors and truth conundrum, that misunderstanding is actually essential to understanding. So it's constantly looking at where, yes, I misunderstood that, I didn't get that, I don't have that, and that gives you the basis to unravel the misunderstanding into the understanding. But what we've gotten is a kind of facetious knowing of people who use properties of the knower, and then they say, based on all these properties, on all these knowledge lectures, now you will have a center established in you. And this is what Koku von Stuckrad talks about in the book Western Esotericism, which is profound because it talks about the psychological phenomena of the individual and their ontological state of confusion. So the confusion or the ignorance is the misunderstanding. So you can't separate from being through a non-being state without having first had a contact with being, is what Baader's saying. It's so profound. I've never found any philosophy that drives this deep into the core issues rather than putting up some object of knowledge, spinning it around and telling you, oh yeah, that's what this is. I mean, I like Hegel, don't get me wrong, but like the phenomenology of spirit is hard to read. That's hard reading. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, we might have some Hegelians in the Cohen or some German people who can reread these translations and see what needs to be fixed. But for the most part, the core essence of what Baader is saying is being translated and made available in these books. So, yeah, I was reading the commentary on Errors and Truth, and one of them says that you cannot will yourself into good, that the will is incapable of providing good results. Baader is a next level philosopher. We are so lucky to have Baader. I don't know how long this effort is going to go of making him available to everyone. There's 3 books so far. There's Schelling's On the Origin of the Soul and Baader's commentary. There's Baader's commentary on Saint-Martin's Errors and Truth. And there's this new book I'm talking about, which is Baader's commentary on the Spirit of Things. Now, hopefully, we'll get all of this stuff contextualized and made available to you. But if we don't, I mean, the Martinist community is not shy of purchasing books. So, yeah, in themselves, they may not have everything that's needed to be a perfect translation for academic purposes, but they are good enough to take you into the realm which they're intended to take you. So, I mean, just reading about the properties and organization was profound for me, and I had a stopping of the mind at that moment. So, I'm so grateful to be able to talk about this stuff. Thanks for listening to my introduction to Baader and the third volume of The Spirit of Things. That's all there is. There is no more volumes. So that is a complete series now. We have both of Saint-Martin's writings and Baader's commentary, which if you study it, it'll help you understand the Rite of the Elukoan, which is a non-explanatory system. Nobody knows what it is. So the fact that they misunderstand it means they know what it is, but they don't know what it is and they're misunderstanding. Here's the truth. All right, thanks so much for tuning in and listening to this podcast and being part of the crew, whether you're in the order, whether you're purchasing books, or contributing to the Patreon.